My wife secretly maxed out credit cards in my name, then tried to play innocent, but I made sure she paid the ultimate price. I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts. You hear about people getting financially screwed over by their partners, but you always think that would never happen to me. That's exactly what I thought, until I found out my wife had secretly maxed out multiple credit cards in my name. And then she had the audacity to act completely innocent. For context, I'm 32M, and my wife, let's call her Emma, 30F, and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We met in our mid-20s, fell hard, and honestly, I thought she was the one. She was funny, smart, caring, everything I wanted in a partner. And while she liked nice things, I never thought she was reckless with money. Or at least, that's what I believed. Our finances had always been separate. Not because I didn't trust her, but because we both liked having our own money. She worked in marketing, I worked in IT, and we made decent salaries. We split everything 50/50. Rent, utilities, groceries. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back, there were signs. Little moments where I should have questioned things, like how she always had brand new clothes, but I never saw huge charges on her debit card, or how she always said, "I'll pay you back later," when I covered something small, but then conveniently forgot. Or how she seemed a little too nervous whenever the topic of money came up, but I ignored all of it because I trusted her. And that was my biggest mistake. I only found out by accident. One day, I got a random alert from my bank about a late payment on a credit card. The problem? I didn't have a credit card with that bank. At first, I thought it was a mistake or maybe a scam, but when I called the bank, my stomach dropped. Because not only was the card real, it was maxed out at $12,500, and it was in my name. I sat there, staring at the statement, my hands shaking. The charges weren't just one big purchase. No, they were months and months of spending. High-end makeup stores, designer brands, expensive dinners, online shopping sprees. It was insane. And the worst part? This wasn't the only card. The customer service rep, who clearly felt bad for me, asked, "Would you like me to check if there are any other accounts under your name?" I said yes, and that's when I found out there were 2 more cards, both maxed out, one at $8,000, the other at $15,000. That was a total of $35,500 in debt, in my name, and I had no idea. I don't even remember driving home. I was too angry, too confused. I had so many questions. How did this happen? When did this start? And most importantly, why the hell would she do this to me? When I walked through the door, Emma was on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. I stood there, gripping the credit card statement so hard my hands were shaking. She looked up and smiled. "Hey babe, how was your day?" I tossed the papers onto the coffee table. She frowned and picked them up. "What's this?" I folded my arms. "You tell me." Her face went pale. She looked at the statements, flipping through them way too fast, like she already knew exactly what they were. Then she did something that almost made me lose it. She laughed. Not a full-on laugh, but a nervous, awkward chuckle, like this was just a silly misunderstanding. "Oh," she said, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I can explain." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my temper in check. "Go ahead," I said. "Explained." She hesitated. Then she said, "It's not that big of a deal." Not that big of a deal. I saw red. "You stole my identity," I said, my voice low and deadly. "You maxed out credit cards in my name, and you're telling me it's not a big deal?" She rolled her eyes. Rolled her actual eyes. "Okay, first of all," she said, crossing her arms, "I didn't steal your identity. We're married. It's our money." I stared at her. "Our money?" I repeated. "Emma, I didn't even know these cards existed." She waved a hand dismissively. "I was going to tell you. I just didn't want to stress you out." I let out a cold laugh. "Oh, so you were protecting me?" She sighed dramatically. "Look, I was planning to pay it off." "With what money?" I snapped. "Your salary barely covers your half of the bills." She hesitated. "And that?" That's when I knew. She had never planned on paying it off. She had been hoping I'd never find out. At this point, I was done playing nice. "You committed fraud," I said, grabbing my laptop. "You used my name to open credit cards without my permission. That's literally illegal." Her eyes widened. "Wait, hold on," she said quickly. "You're not actually mad, are you?" I blinked. "Are you joking?" She pouted. "Babe, it's just money. You work in IT, you'll make more." I had to physically restrain myself from flipping the coffee table. "It's $35,000, Emma." She flinched. For the first time, she actually looked scared, not because she felt bad, but because she realized I wasn't letting this slide. I grabbed my car keys. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To fix this," I said, and then I walked out. Because if she thought I was just going to roll over and pay off her secret debt, she had another thing coming. I barely remember getting into my car. All I knew was that I had to get the hell out of there before I lost my mind. Emma had just casually admitted to opening credit cards in my name, racking up $35,500 in debt, and somehow she thought I'd just shrug it off, like, "Oh, no big deal, babe. Sure, you committed fraud, but I'll just work a few extra shifts and pay it off." Yeah, no. She had been lying to my face for years, and if she thought I was just going to roll over and take this, she had another thing coming. I drove straight to the bank. I had no idea what I was going to do yet, but I knew I had to get answers, because the more I thought about it, the more things weren't adding up. How the hell did she even manage to open these accounts? Wouldn't the bank have needed my ID or signature? And more importantly, how long had this actually been going on? When I got to the bank, I asked to speak with a manager. At first, the guy I spoke to was polite but distant. But the second I said the words identity theft, his entire attitude changed. I showed him my ID, explained that I had just found out about 3 max-out credit cards in my name, and asked how the hell this even happened. He pulled up my accounts, looked through the details, and then he frowned. And that's when I knew. It was worse than I thought. "Sir," he said, clearing his throat, "these accounts weren't just opened recently." My stomach dropped. I leaned forward. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then turned the screen toward me. "These accounts have been active for over 2 years." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. 2 years! For 2 whole years, Emma had been using credit cards in my name, without me knowing, and I had been completely blind. I took a deep breath. "Okay, I need to know exactly how she pulled this off." The manager nodded. "Apparently when she applied for the first card, she used my full name, social security number, and birthday, which she obviously had access to. The bank required identity verification, so she forged my signature and submitted a fake authorization letter. When the first card got approved, she did it again. And again. Each time, she got more confident, racking up more and more debt. The worst part? The banks had called to verify some of the charges, but since Emma and I shared a phone plan, she had intercepted the calls before I ever knew about them. She knew exactly what she was doing. She had spent 2 years covering her tracks, making sure I never found out, and now she was acting like it was no big deal, like I was overreacting. I clenched my fist so hard my nails dug into my palms. I had never felt so betrayed in my life. I looked at the bank manager and said the words that changed everything. "I want to press charges." The second those words left my mouth, I felt calmer. Like for the first time since this nightmare started, I was actually taking back control. The manager nodded. "I'll file a fraud report and flag the accounts." Then he hesitated. "Sir, I have to ask, are you sure you want to go through with this? Since she's your wife, we'd have to involve law enforcement." I didn't even blink. She stopped being my wife the second she stole from me. And I meant it. I left the bank with a folder full of evidence, copies of every fraudulent application she had submitted, a full breakdown of every charge she had made over the last 2 years, and the legal steps to get the debt removed from my name. Because make no mistake, I wasn't paying a single damn penny of this. This was her mess, not mine. And now, she was going to face the consequences. When I got home, Emma was waiting. She must have seen how furious I looked, because her face immediately fell. She stood up, hands clasped in front of her. "Babe, listen." I cut her off. "Sit down." She hesitated. Then she sat. I dropped the bank folder on the table. "Explain." She flipped through the papers, her hand shaking. I was going to tell you," she whispered. I just didn't know how." I crossed my arms. You had 2 years to tell me." She swallowed hard. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad." I let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, so you accidentally opened multiple credit cards and maxed them all out?" She opened her mouth, then closed it, because there was nothing she could say. She had no excuse. Then she tried to switch tactics. She put on her best sad face and reached for my hand. "Babe, please, we're married. This is something we can fix together." I yanked my hand away. "We're not fixing tea." She flinched. Then she whispered, "Are you really this mad over money?" I stared at her, completely speechless. Like, was she seriously this delusional? Mad over money? She ruined my credit. She committed identity theft. She lied to my face for years. This wasn't just money. This was betrayal, and the fact that she couldn't even admit that was the final straw. I stood up. I went to the bank. Her face turned white. "They're filing a fraud report," I said. "I'll be clearing the debt from my name." She swallowed hard. "Wait, you're not actually pressing charges, are you?" I didn't answer. Her eyes widened. "Oh my God, you are!" She lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. "Please, babe, don't do this. I'll fix it, I swear." I shook her off. "No, Emma, you won't." She burst into tears. But I didn't care, because I was done, and no amount of fake crying was going to change that. I never knew how quickly people could switch sides until this mess happened. One minute Emma was my loving wife and we were a normal couple. The next, she was trying to destroy my reputation just because she didn't want to deal with the consequences of her own actions. After I left the house, I spent the night at my best friend's place. He was the first person I told everything to, and the moment I finished, his reaction was exactly what I expected. "Bro," he said, shaking his head. "You're pressing charges, right?" I nodded. "Hell yeah." He let out a breath. "Good, because if you let this slide, she's just going to do it again to someone else." And the sad part? He was right. Emma wasn't sorry for what she did. She was only sorry she got caught. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and texts from Emma, from her mom, even from her sister who I hadn't spoken to in months. I sighed and started scrolling. And bro, I have never seen someone try to rewrite history so fast. Emma's messages were full of, "Please, babe, I love you. I swear I'll fix this. I don't want to lose you over a few mistakes." Her mom, on the other hand, straight up unhinged. "How dare you abandon your wife over money? You're supposed to support her, not punish her." Real men don't walk out on their families. Yeah, real men also don't tolerate financial fraud. Then I got to her sister's messages, and that's when I saw something that made me pause. Look, I don't want to get in the middle of this, but Emma told us you're pressing charges. Are you really going to put her in jail? I sat up, rereading that message, because I hadn't told anyone I was pressing charges yet, which meant Emma did. And not only that, she was using it to guilt trip her entire family. Before I could even respond, my phone rang again. Emma. I stared at the screen for a second. Then for some reason I picked up. The second the call connected, I heard sobbing. "Please," she whispered. "You can't do this to me." I sighed. "Emma, I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to yourself." She sniffled. I know I screwed up, but I can fix it. I'll pay it off." "With what money?" I asked. "You can barely afford rent." She went silent. And that was the moment it finally hit her. She was screwed. Then she tried one last trick. The desperation move. "I'll sign a contract," she said quickly. "I'll write it all down. Everything I did. I'll take full responsibility. I'll even let you file for divorce with no fight, just please don't press charges." I rubbed my temples, because honestly, that wasn't a bad deal. If I pressed charges, it would take months to get the debt removed from my name. But if she signed a confession, I could use it to get the banks to clear my accounts immediately. I took a deep breath. "Fine," I said, "but I need it in writing, a full confession, and I want it notarized." She exhaled, relieved. Okay, I'll do it." "And another thing," I added, "I want a divorce." She let out a choked sob, but she didn't argue, because she knew she had no choice. The next day we met at the bank. She signed a full confession, admitting to everything. She agreed to take full responsibility for the debt. And once the papers were notarized, I walked away. But the drama wasn't over yet, because Emma, she still had one last meltdown left in her. A few days later, after things started settling down, I got a call from her mom. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. I picked up, and the first thing I heard was, "You're making a huge mistake." I sighed, already annoyed. "What are you talking about?" Her mom let out a dramatic sigh. "Emma told me everything," she said. "She confessed and she's trying to make it right. You really want to ruin her life over this?" I almost laughed. "Ma'am," I said as politely as I could. "Emma ruined her own life. I just found out about it," her mom huffed. "She's your wife," she snapped. "You're supposed to forgive her." I clenched my jaw. "She stopped being my wife the second she stole from me," I said flatly. Then I hung up, because honestly, I was done explaining myself. A week after everything, a mutual friend reached out. He wasn't someone I was super close with, but he had heard about the situation through the grapevine. "Dude," he said, "I don't know if you care, but Emma's already dating someone else." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "She's on Tinder," he said. "I saw her profile." I raised an eyebrow. "Does she mention the whole stole $35K from her ex-husband thing?" He laughed. Nah, but she put self-employed as her job, so that's kind of the same thing. I actually cracked up, because of course she was already moving on. She was never sad about losing me, she was sad because she got caught, and that told me everything I needed to know. It's been about a year since Emma destroyed our marriage. A year since I found out she secretly maxed out credit cards in my name, putting me into $35,500 of debt without my knowledge. A year since she tried to play the victim when I confronted her, and a year since I walked away, leaving her to deal with the mess she created. And you know what? I have never been happier. For the first few months, Emma kept trying to reach out. She used every excuse possible to contact me. I just want to talk. I miss you. I know I screwed up, but we were good together. I ignored every message. I even blocked her number. Because what was there to talk about? She had lied to my face for 2 years. She had stolen from me. She had only cared about herself. There was nothing left to say. A few months later, I got a call from the bank. They confirmed that the fraud report had gone through and the debt was completely removed from my name. Emma, on the other hand, she was fully responsible for the $35,000, and with her salary, there was no way in hell she was paying that off anytime soon. She tried getting her parents to bail her out, but apparently they refused, which meant for the first time in her entire life, she had to deal with the consequences of her own actions. A few weeks after that, I found out she had moved back in with her parents. She had to break the lease on our apartment because she couldn't afford rent on her own, and as much as her parents defended her at first, it didn't take long for them to get sick of her, because Emma, she was the type of person who always expected someone else to fix her problems. She had never been independent, and now that she was on her own, reality was hitting her hard, and honestly, I didn't feel bad, not even a little. Then, out of nowhere, she texted me from a new number. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the best of me. And bro, I was not prepared for what I saw. It was a long paragraph about how she had changed. She said she realized her mistakes and was in a better place now. She talked about how she was working on herself and how she had learned the value of honesty. Then she hit me with this: I miss you. I know I don't deserve another chance, but if you'd be willing to grab coffee, I'd love to see you again. I stared at the message, completely speechless. Because seriously? This girl stole from me, lied for years, and then had the nerve to think I'd want to catch up over coffee? I didn't even respond. I just blocked the number, because I wasn't falling for her shit ever again. After that, things finally went quiet. No more calls, no more texts. It was like she had finally given up. And with her out of my life for good, I could finally focus on moving forward. The best part? The breakup made me realize just how much better life is when you don't have toxic people draining your energy. I had spent years covering for Emma's bad habits, making excuses for her and picking up the slack whenever she forgot to pay her share of the bills. Now, I had more money, more time, and more peace than I ever did before. I started traveling, I took up new hobbies, I reconnected with old friends, people I had lost touch with because Emma always made everything about her. And best of all, I wasn't stressed about money anymore. No more secret debts, no more wondering where my paychecks were going. I was finally free. A few months ago, I heard some news about Emma through a mutual friend. Apparently, she had gotten into another relationship, and get this, she had done the exact same thing to her new boyfriend. Maxed out credit cards in his name, racked up a ton of debt, and when he found out, she played the victim, just like she did with me. Except this time, she didn't get away with it. Because this guy, he didn't just walk away, he actually filed a police report, and last I heard, she was in serious legal trouble. When I found out, I just shook my head, because honestly, she had no one to blame but herself. She had so many chances to change, so many chances to fix her mistakes, but instead of taking responsibility, she just found a new guy to scam. And now, she was paying the price.